Alrighty. Okay, can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? Testing, testing. Can anybody hear me? Alright. And yay, there goes the CPU ramping right up. I can hear the fan now. Alright, let's wait a couple minutes or two longer for folks to get in. Oh, let's see here. Is there one more? So I can find some notifications here. There we go. Just wait for folks to hop in a little bit longer. So how are you guys doing? Yeah, there's like a huge amount of lag. Like if I had my headphones on so I could hear myself talking, as narcissistic as I am, you would think that there's like, I think there's probably like, 15 seconds of lag, maybe, give or take, 15-30 seconds of lag, somewhere around there. It's pretty impressive. It's definitely not ideal for like a real-time live Q&A, even though some people do manage to do that. It's just really, really slow, really, really laggy. But, okay, so, anyways, I've pretty much got a very ghetto-tastic streaming setup. I'm practically using the webcam from my MacBook, because that's all I've got at the moment. So, let's see here. What do we got? There, put my phone on my other desk. Not really gonna move my MacBook around and show everything, because it took me like a couple minutes to get it in like a good spot here. But basically, what you're seeing is like this corner of my workbench. This is actually a little workbench that my dad made for me years and years and years ago when I was a little kid and I was obsessed with Legos. And he basically made this as a Lego workbench for my bedroom. It's so cool. I actually still have it. And like right next to it, I have this really big desk that's currently filled with more clutter than Albert Einstein's brain. That's supposed to be my electronics workbench, and right now it's pretty much where everything has just gone to sit. And then right behind me is my desk that's also filled with more clutter than Albert Einstein's brain. So I'm a very disorganized person. Something is coming. No. Well, this thing right here is not going to be my electronics workbench. I'm actually going to repurpose this to be a latex crafting bench because, as you can hear, it's got this really nice Formica top that my dad put on it. So, like, if I spill any of the if I spill any heptane or rubber cement on it or whatever, I can just wipe the heptane or right off, or I can wait for the rubber cement to dry and just literally use my finger to just rub it right off. Formica is really nice stuff to have. But the other desk that I have actually is kind of a perfect electronics workbench because it still has a working keyboard tray, which is great for, you know, when I really need to bend over what I'm working on. But other than that, it's got this nice big flat desktop that's, you know, perfect, and all I need is just a couple of pieces of test equipment and, you know, good soldering and a good soldering rework station to play with. But for right now, though, since I don't have any actual circuit boards to build, I don't need any of that stuff at the moment. Well, I mean, I can probably use a good oscilloscope because I'm working with breadboards. But, anywho, let's see here. But, anywho, though, over here in this corner, I actually have a book here. I've had this for a while now. This was gifted to me by a really great friend of mine, Drax Swifttail, and, really, I haven't flipped it open that much, but what I have read out of it is actually really well written from what I can see. So I really want to try and actually start cracking this open, start reading bits and pieces out of it here and there, and see if I can learn some more interesting and fun things about electronics on top of what little I already know. There's always room to learn. That's one thing that any great master knows, is there is always room to learn something new. So this should help me learn tons and tons and tons of new things. I'm just going to flop this on the floor for the moment because I literally have nowhere else to put it in my room. I am so horrifically disorganized. But anywho, let's see here. It seems like 4 people is probably the most I'm going to have watching this stream right now, but that's okay because YouTube automatically saves this stuff to your videos archive. So anybody else who wants to watch it can watch it later. So the first thing I'm going to open up is this. First thing I'm going to open up. This comes courtesy of a friend on Twitter who goes by the name of Valenthorpe or Valenthorpe. Let's see if I can type this here. I have no clue what sound that first A is supposed to have, whether it's Val or Valen. But either way, though, this comes from him. He does a lot of interesting work with odds and ends. From what I can see, though, a lot of it is like welding equipment repair. So he's posted some really interesting pictures of things that have been completely and utterly destroyed by mind-bogglingly insane currents and voltages. Just mind-boggling, because arc welders don't mess around with the electricity. They, like my dad's arc welder that he has, I think he has to connect it to a 220 volt socket in his workshop because it draws that much current to do its welding. So I think, actually, I don't think it's just welder repair. I think he does like general. I think it's more like general repair for like extremely heavy electrical equipment. But either way, though, he does interesting work with odds and ends and whatnot. And this is some odds and ends that he sent me. And without further ado, I've already pre-cut the shipping label off of it, mostly because privacy concerns. But other than that, this is the first time this box is getting cut open, and this is some heavy-duty tape, giving my pocket knife a workout. There we go. So we have. And it is quite well packaged. It's like unwrapping a Christmas present. Alright. Okay, so the odds and ends that we have in this little box. Put those over here for a moment, so we can try and get this stuff in view of the camera. So basically the odds and ends that we have here, and I'm going to need to close my knife again. Very nice use of anti-static packaging materials. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm going to dig out my anti-static wrist strap from my electronics workbench right next door. Get this on, because I actually already have this connected to the grounding screw post on the electrical socket down below. I don't know if this is a thing with like European or British electrical sockets, but in the United States at the very least, the center screw on electrical outlets, at least newer ones, is supposed to be grounded. And it pretty much is. That's pretty much standard building code. That's standard design for them in general these days. So, like, if you have, a wrist strap or something to, have at home or whatever, you can actually just take its grounding wire and just screw it to the center post, to the center screw post on an electrical socket. Yeah, whatever, earth post, whatever. It grounds the chassis of the outlet itself, so that way you don't, get shocked by like a metal faceplate. Okay, so there's one of several circuit boards. I mean, Valenthorpe's already sent me a picture of all of this stuff, so I kind of know what this is. But once I get everything pulled out of its bags, I can roughly explain what this all is. And oh wow, this one's kind of stuck together. There we go. Oh, it's one of those self-sealing bags. This is a circuit board full of outputs, and if you can look and see what the various outputs are on this, you might be able to guess kind of what this is, kind of what these nuts are for, or you can probably start to guess. Good grief, this is some really good tape. This is a huge anti-static bag. Double wrap just for extra security. My bench is already getting congested. Story of my life. Everything is too small. That's what she said. Okay, so this is the power supply. Wow, that's a really flat transformer. That's an impressively flat transformer. Some of these capacitors are quite gorgeous. And none of the electrolytic capacitors that I can see are bulging, which means they're still good, which means I might still be able to use them for stuff. What the heck is up with these long ones? Like, what are they rated for? Well, they're 105 degrees Celsius, which means that these long electrolytic capacitors have a pretty long, or would have a pretty long service life in stable temperatures. But I can't see the rating on them. Oh well. I can see the brand name. They're made by Aishi, whatever the heck that is. But there, that is the power supply. This, I believe, is the circuit board I'm most interested in out of all this. But in particular, I believe, if I can guess right, what is packaged in here. And also, I just did a no-no. I cut towards one of my fingers. You don't do that. And you don't cut towards your body either unless you have the blade very tightly held and controlled in your hand. Yes, these are the bits I'm most interested in, right here. Oh my god, they are actually quite a bit bigger than I thought they're actually quite a bit longer than I thought they were. But these are, in case you haven't already guessed yet, what I've just unwrapped are the guts of an LCD television, and these are the backlight LED strips. And it's these that I want to use to create a little light table. Basically, I want to take just a shallow picture frame, put some white translucent plexiglass as the as the frame glass in front, and then use these behind, it to illuminate the thing. So that way I can do some muscle memory practice with sketching. And these are some big beefy LEDs, because this whole circuit board is printed on essentially on its own heat sink. Wow, these are actually some of the biggest LEDs I've ever seen. Holy crap! But yeah, so these are what I'm most interested in, and if I recall correctly from the pictures that Valenthorpe sent me, this right here is the circuit board that powers them. Where is the... oh, here it is. So yeah, this should fit... oh. Right in here. So yeah, that goes in there, and then each of these, of course, plugs into here and here. So this is the main... so this is obviously the main circuit board that powers the LEDs, but the thing is that I don't know how to make this work. So that's going to be the interesting challenge for playing with this, but that can be saved for a later time. That's going to be for a later date. Wow, this stuff is nice and secure, but also easy to disassemble, which is great for electronics repair. But yeah, these circuit boards are filled with all kinds of components that I can probably toy around with once I can figure out how to safely desolder them. Goodness. Can't get this plug out. Don't worry. Not going to worry about it for the moment. So there's that. Try not to spill my drink and crap. I'm just going to have to very gently place everything on top of all of this anti-static packaging for the moment. But yeah, this is what I'm interested in, is these LED strips. Those should make for very, very nice backlight for a light table. Careful, careful. There we go. Oh yeah, those were all the random cables and everything that was supposed to connect all of the... where'd my scissors go? My scissors just walked off. What the heck? Well, criminy, my scissors just walked off. This is the story of our life with scissors in this house. Oh, there they are. How the heck did they... oh. It's because I had all the power cables on top of them. Now for all of the really cool, really neat stuff that y'all are probably here to see. So we can get rid of that, anti-static strap, because we won't be needing static protection or ESD protection for any of this. We're going to put the scissors and the knife over here, so that way I won't lose them. And we're going to start with some of the supplies that I have. So this first thing that I have is linoleum tile, mostly to protect this Formica top from what is going on top of it. It's a bit got some mass to it. And you are all now watching me essentially assemble my workbench. This tile, oh my god, it's a perfect fit. Eee! My inner OCD goes squee at that. Let me see. Oops. So it's a nice little cinder block here. Only a couple bucks at Home Depot. And this will be great to start out with. Eventually I can replace it with a chunk of granite. I'm going to go right there for the moment. Okay, so the next thing that I got, this was actually the first bit of it's hot in there. This was actually the first bit of supplies that I got, and I posted a picture of this on Twitter like a long time ago. Some of you might not have seen it because you probably started following you after that, but I have a rotary cutter and a cutting board that I found at Walmart. And Fiskars is actually a pretty good name brand to get here in America. For those of you who are European and don't have Fiskars, if you ever come to America, Fiskars is a good brand for scissors and cutting implements in general, for like crafting and stuff. Just a couple bucks, Harbor Freight. Nice polymer mallet, which can be used with these next supplies that were so expertly sold to me by Lagarto. Let me pull up. Let me give his name here in a sec. Well, Lagarto. Those of you who are not familiar with him, Lagarto, it basically makes custom leather collars and harnesses. He is a fur. You will often see him at several fur cons, and he prides himself on the quality of his work, and he also prides himself in that he specifically only uses hypoallergenic materials. And this is actually really quite important because I have a nickel allergy. So anyways, these next bits of supplies that he sold to me, and I'm actually going to open these. But that mallet we'll use with what I'm going to unpackage after this, because first I'm going to unpackage this. You don't use the mallet with this. You use it on its own because it's a fully self-contained tool. But this is, well, if I can open it. Oh, right. Almost stuck in the package. But this is a hole punch, and oh wow, it's actually got several different sizes. But this is a hole punch, mostly used for leather craft. This comes from Tandy Leather Company. Tandy Leather Company. This is not a paid advertisement, by the way. This was something that I bought for my own work, but Tandy Leather Company is pretty much the place to go in at least the US if you want like specialty leather crafting tools. But this hole punch is handy for making like straps, for example, like for collars, belts, cuffs, etc., etc. So this is going to come in handy. Set this packaging aside for the moment. And then Tandy Leather Company also sells two versions of this next tool, and this is what you need the mallet and the cinder block for. Ideally, you need a chunk of granite. This also comes on recommendation from Lagarto, but for now though, I can really only afford the cinder block, and I didn't have the time to look for a granite fabricator that could sell me like a scrap piece or just a dirt cheap, square foot granite tile. So that's basically where I'm at with that. Is for the moment, I've got just a cheap temporary stopgap. This will tide me over. But this next piece, there's actually two versions of this that Tandy Leather Company sells. They sell a stamped version, and then they sell this considerably more expensive forged steel or forged iron version, and it's basically an oblong punch. And this oblong punch, pretty much, just like that. But this oblong punch is designed for punching, obviously just an oblong hole in a strap in order to fit. I'm going to open up some more of these supplies. Oh yeah, just oh yeah, pretty much just what Starseer said. Austin has a Tandy Leather Company store. My last job working for an Advanced Auto Parts in a place in Austin called Capitol Plaza. The Tandy Leather Company was literally right next door to the AutoZone that was right behind us. So like you could practically walk there from where I used to work. But that oblong punch is especially handy for punching the hole for one of these. This is pretty much the buckle for, you know, like a belt or a strap or something like that. But the oblong punch, the hole is meant for this part, the tongue. This, or not the tongue. It's called either the tongue or the post or whatever. But basically, it's so that this can freely hinge in the strap, because you know you basically loop the strap through the buckle and then like that, and then the hole basically lets this, you know, move around. But there's that, keeper loop, D-ring, and these are padlock posts because I'm going to be making for because I'm going to try making for myself a collar out of latex rubber. So Lagarto with his very smooth reptilian tongues expertly sold me on this very expensive oblong punch. But the thing about this is, and the reason that he sold me on it so quite so well, is it has a lifetime warranty, which means that if for some reason this thing should ever fail to be able to do its job anymore, I can just go to the, as long as I keep a hold of the packaging, which by the way I need to not lose the packaging, but if this should fail for any reason or whatever, I can just put it back in its original packaging, take it to that Tandy Leather Company store, and ask for an exchange. Let's see here. In the lower fifth. Oh, it's that tiny little thing. Hang on. Hold on just a moment here. I gotta try and manually get a link to someone. There we go. I had to quickly send a message to somebody. So, anywho, alright, so there's all of that useful hardware. Okay, so what was it that you guys couldn't see again? Because apparently I only just now noticed that y'all were saying that I was out of frame. So I have no clue what it was that y'all just missed. It was a cursed lag. Okay, so out of the collar hardware that I got, so the oblong punch that I showed off earlier is basically for one of these. So this little prong here is basically when you use oblong punch, you use oblong punch to cut the long hole, so that way you loop the strap through this buckle and pretty much put this through the hole, so that way it can freely hinge through the hole, through the oblong hole, like this. So that's basically what the oblong punch is for. I mean, this thing was not cheap compared to the stamped steel one, but according to Lagarto, it's going to last a whole hell of a lot longer. So I have that. I have a keeper for the end of the strap and whatnot, so you run that through and it won't flop around. And of course I have these D-rings right here. I've basically got enough hardware to make two very basic collars, and because Lagarto specifically gets hypoallergenic hardware, all of this is stainless steel, all of it, and should have sufficient. It's a grade 304 stainless steel, which basically has the maximum nickel content to be considered hypoallergenic in the United States. and that's really kind of an interesting thing about nickel allergy, is because stainless steel itself has to have some amount of nickel in it. The nickel is what gives stainless steel its corrosion resistance. It also helps to improve the thermal properties of steel. In fact, a lot of metal alloys that are designed to withstand extreme temperatures are very heavily nickel-based. Nickel has this propensity to withstand extreme environments with very little significant change in its mechanical properties. That's why it's so heavily used in cryomaterials. That's why the alloys used to make the all of the fins inside of turbojet and turbofan engines. Those are all nickel-based alloy, because nickel-based alloys can withstand extreme temperatures in that regard. So stainless steel has some slightly improved properties, but because of that nickel, most grades of stainless steel have too much nickel to be considered hypoallergenic. And anything that is like, really cheap steel that's nickel plated for this, very pretty little shine, because you can actually get hardware that's just as shiny as this, but it's made of much cheaper material and is typically nickel plated, because nickel takes and holds a polish and shine really, really well because of its hardness and whatnot. But because of that nickel plating, that stuff is not even remotely hypoallergenic. In fact, a lot of the collars that I have, which came from the collar factory, they basically all use nickel-plated hardware. So when I wear those collars, I pretty much break out in a rash within a day, and it's not fun. So this is grade 304 stainless steel. This is not plated, and look how shiny and polished it is. I'm going to hold this up a little closer to the light here so you can kind of see. But it is so pretty, so polished, and this is straight up stainless steel. This is the good stuff, and Lagarto uses the good stuff in his leather work. So if you want anything made out of leather or whatever, like, this is totally not a paid endorsement. Like, I've seen the quality of his stuff, but like, if you want really good custom leather stuff, he's a good person to go to, especially if you have a nickel allergy like I do. And so I've got the good stuff here to make some latex collars for myself. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show off, and this is actually just a really cheap find from Home Depot. It's just a PVC cap for a pipe, basically for rolling seams. So to make sure that the seams actually stick. But that linoleum towel that I just put at the bottom there, I actually found this at a place called Jerry's Artorama, and I also found the rest of these things at Jerry's Artorama as well. Bestine solvent. This is essentially pure heptane, so it is extremely flammable. I pretty much, whenever I'm not using this has to stay closed, because heptane is very flammable. It has very high vapor pressure. It's basically what's used to denature gasoline a little bit, to make like the cheaper, lower the cheaper lower grades of gasoline that go in engines that don't require gasoline with a higher anti-knock index, like the 89, 90, or 93 octane gas, or not 89, like the 90 or 93 octane gas. They basically have more of the isooctane and less of the heptane in them. Heptane is actually used as your zero rating test substance in motors. Basically, heptane has an anti-knock rating of 0, but it's also really, really flammable. This is actually some kind of hazardous stuff to have. But this comes highly rated from quite a few latex workers as a really great dressing and prep solution for latex, because it can basically clean and it pretty much just ever so slightly dissolves the latex a little bit, so it cleans it up quite nicely and preps it for this stuff. And both of these I found in a very unexpected place. I found them at Jerry's Artorama as well. It's a local place here in Austin. They basically have just one location. The people there are super duper nice, super duper helpful. They have all kinds of random artsy fartsy odds and ends, and they actually carry the good stuff too. They carry stuff like Prismacolor, Faber-Castell. They carry I can't even begin. But anyways, they actually had they also had Elmer's rubber cement as well. But this stuff actually, but it looks like this stuff was much better quality. So basically, I'm gonna give this stuff a shot, and if it doesn't come out too terribly well, at least I know where I can get a hold of Elmer's rubber cement. But yeah. But I've pretty much found these in the most unexpected place. I thought I would actually find these at the local Woodcraft, because Woodcraft carries, like, if you're into woodworking and you need some like odd off-the-wall tools that you wouldn't normally be able to find at a place like Home Depot or Slows, and I've totally picked those names up off of a couple of friends of mine. But basically, Woodcraft carries like some of the more odds and ends tools. If you need router bits that you wouldn't normally find at your typical home improvement store, Woodcraft usually has them. They typically open up only one location for. They typically only open up like one location for like a whole city or something like that, and they usually open up in larger cities. And they actually have a location here in Austin, which is really quite nice, because I eventually want to start making wood furniture. So when, I guess if and when sometime in the future I can be able to start making furniture, start working with wood, I'll be able to go to Woodcraft. But I didn't find these there, which really kind of baffled me. I found these at an art supply store, but I found what I needed, and also brushes, because you need lots of brushes when you're working with fluid chemicals like that. Now for piece de resistance. One thing that I've been holding off until the very end of the stream, and one thing that everybody is probably here to see. And I'm just gotta figure out how to open this, because this is one of those polymer shipping bags. This is entirely the reason why I needed these scissors as well, because I don't want to damage what's inside of this. Because what's inside of this is easily damaged by blades. Scissors in here again without damaging. Ooh, crap! Yeah, it's a good thing that I am using these scissors in particular that have blunt tips. But anyways, this came courtesy of a friend on Twitter who goes by the handle of Rubber Zebra, and he does crafting and latex work, and it's been basically just, oh, look at that. It's basically just some spare scraps of latex. Black, and in both black and medium blue, which are basically Calyo's colors, and wow, this is actually a whole heck of a lot more than I thought I would be getting. Holy crap. Rubber Zebra, if you're watching this right now, or if you watch this stream at any point in the future, holy crap, thank you very much. This is a lot more than I thought I would be getting. But yeah, this is the pièce de résistance, and this is what's gonna get me started on all of this. So yeah, this is really, really quite awesome, really quite amazing. I should be able to make a few interesting things from this. Holy crap! Yeah, this is good reason I used scissors instead of my pocket knife, because holy crap, I would have cut this. Like, I would have actually damaged this if I were using my knife. But yeah, this is it. So I've pretty much got the only thing I am missing at this point in time. The only thing that I am missing is a cloth rag, and the cloth rag is basically so I can, quickly get heptane on it and be able to wipe down like a large surface of latex, and then flip the rag around to a dry side and just wipe it up real quick. It's kind of a trick that I learned from watching my dad work with wood finish and stuff, is that you can just use a rag, fold the rag up a whole bunch, and then very quickly tip a container like this over onto the rag just to very lightly soak it. And he does it with all kinds of low viscosity solvents like this. He's done it with paint thinner, does it with like acetone, you name it. He's even done it with low viscosity wood finish as well. So this is going to be quite fun to begin experimenting with all of this and to begin playing around with all of this. So as far as I can tell, that's pretty much it for the unboxing. Ran about 45 minutes, which is actually not too terrible. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and if anybody's got any like questions or whatever, I can answer real quick. Other than that, I'm probably gonna call the stream quits. Anything at all. I guess not. Okay, so I guess that's gonna be it for the stream. I'll catch you all later.